a full-scale commercial Hyperloop up and running by 2020. I'm Zach, this is ZakDTV, and we're going to take a look at this. Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, or HTT from here on, was a company that launched in 2013 after Elon Musk released his white paper on a Hyperloop. Now, unlike their competitors, they took a different approach to making this dream a reality. They went with almost like a crowdfunded approach. In fact, it seems like their CEO likes to say that it's not a business, it's a movement. And from looking at what they do, it really seems like they are moving along. Their research has yielded 27 new patents. They have over 50 teams working around the globe on 6 out of 7 continents. They're made up of over 800 individual collaborators because remember, it's not a business, and have partnered with more than 40 big companies. And I mean big. These aren't some no-name companies. We're talking like Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and NVIDIA. They haven't only teamed up with educational or industrial partners either. They've also teamed up with the government of Slovakia and the government of South Korea. They teamed up with them for help on research and development to enhance the system technology, as well as to work on things like safety standards, regulations, and system standardization. And standardization is actually very important. If you think about this, this is a huge investment into infrastructure for any city or country to throw their money at. Well, if these capsules don't fit in between everybody's system, then they're basically stuck with a monopoly and have to buy any future parts or products from the company they originally invested with. By working on a way to make these more standard, then you end up with something more similar to subways or trains. And like HTT CEO Dirk Alborn said, as a technology firm, we are making our developments available to all parties interested and ensuring that there's a worldwide interchangeable standard. So it really seems like HTT is thinking ahead here. They're looking at the long-term game. Okay, so they have partnerships with those two countries, which also include developing Hyperloop transportation for within those countries. But they're also running feasibility studies in India, Indonesia, and the Czech Republic, looking at routes that this Hyperloop would be an effective transportation means for. And they've also teamed up with a bipartisan group of congressional representatives here in the United States. These are representatives from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, and Wisconsin. And at the end of February 2018, they put together a letter to the President of the United States requesting funds for infrastructure improvement in those areas. And at the end of February 2018, they sat down with the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency and signed a public-private agreement for the Great Lakes Hyperloop system. This plan starts with an initial run from Cleveland, Ohio to Chicago, Illinois. And it seems like that will be up and running in about 3 to 5 years. For phase 2 of this plan, they plan on branching out to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Indianapolis, Indiana, Cincinnati and Columbus, Ohio, Pittsburgh, PA, Buffalo, New York, and Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And including a couple other minor stops in the area, that will make up the Great Lakes Hyperloop. For phase 3, which is years down the way, they plan on stretching over to the East Coast as well. Now, you might be saying, okay, great. They have a lot of paperwork signed. They've been out shaking hands, kissing babies, making public relations. But what about the hardware? Zach, where's the hardware? There is none. That's the simple answer. There is no hardware yet. But, on the other hand, earlier this month, HTT opened what they're calling their Global Innovation Center, known as Expo Square in Brazil. This is where they're going to do a lot of research and fabrication on their systems. They do have a capsule that's nearing completion at the Spanish engineering firm Caburys, and it should be done around the same time that they wrap up construction on their full-size Hyperloop test track. They started construction on that track earlier this month in Toulouse, France. This will be the first and only full-size Hyperloop test track, and these tubes are giant. They have a 4-meter inside diameter. This first test track will be 320 meters in length, and they plan on having a second track done early 2019. That track will be 1 kilometer long and raised up on pylons. Now, as you can see, this company really is making strides. But what has to be the most impressive piece of news to come out of them recently is that on April 18th, they signed an agreement with Aldar Properties. They're the main developer in Abu Dhabi and known for projects like the Sun and Sky Towers, the World Trade Center Abu Dhabi, and the coolest one, HQ. This agreement comes after the feasibility study has already been done and allows for construction to start on the first ever commercial Hyperloop line. This area sits on the border of Dubai and near the Al Maktoum International Airport. It's also close to the Expo 2020 site. The initial phase will include a 10-kilometer long track, an HTT R&D center, an innovation hub facility, and a visitor center, all to be completed in time for the Expo 2020. And after the successful completion of this segment, HTT will be able to expand this line throughout the UAE and the Middle East. Now that seems pretty impressive for a company that doesn't even have a working capsule or a test track yet. Or is it a little overambitious? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to click that like button. And if you want to see another great video on Hyperloop, check out my buddy NeoScribe's work. I'll put a link to it down below. My videos are out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I hope to see you here again soon. And until next time, just have fun and be safe.